was your audition like? Like, what do you think you did or said that made them think that's our Villanelle?
I don't know. That's a question for them, I think. But I just remember I was on holiday in Barcelona. I'd been to a musical festival, actually, so I wasn't in a very... I was on like a 5-day hangover. And I was like, okay, right, I've got this 13-hour flight to LA.
Good for you.
I've got to do it. I've got to deliver. Like, I don't want to get a 13-hour flight back to Liverpool and be kicking myself. So I knew my lines. Sounds basic, but I just knew what I needed to do. And then, to be honest, it was being in the room with Sandra where it all kind of came together. Like, within 5 minutes of us meeting each other, it was just like we trusted each other, and she gave me so much of her time and energy. And it was at that moment where when I left the room, I thought, if I don't get it, I'll be devastated and I will not be watching Killing Eve. But I was also like, I know that I couldn't have done any more. And I was at peace with that because I felt like we'd done like a day's film, and it was.
But like, if you didn't get it, it'd be totally out of your control. It wouldn't be anything.
Well,
that you did.
That's what I was like. I was like, for me, and sometimes you get auditions wrong. Sometimes you're like, nailed it, and then they're like, no, and then so you can judge things wrong. But I just felt like, right, if I don't, then it's it's exactly that. It's out of my hands.
Did you have all the scripts for the first season when you started shooting the first season?
No, I think we had like the first maybe 3. You do a block, which is like 2 episodes, and then you get the rest of the block's episodes as you go along, which is always nice because it's a surprise. I was always thinking, what's Phoebe gonna have me doing next, which was great.
Going into the second season, one of the things that's great about second seasons of shows is that everything's been established and you can now expand the world and expand the characters a little bit. And oftentimes writers end up writing for what they know their actors want to do and are excited to do. Were there any conversations with you and the showrunner about where Villanelle would go and what would happen?
They always ask me, but what I enjoy is like, that's not my expertise. Like I admire writing.
You're what?
Like, that's not, like, I'm not a writer. Like, the stuff that they bring up always
Did you say
amazes
expertise?
Me. Yeah.
But you said it in your wonderful accent. I just wanted to hear it again.
I'm sorry.
No, it was really amazing. It just took me a minute.
You're like, what?
Expertise.
So I like to leave it to them. Now, if we come back for a 3rd season...
Yeah, you've got some ideas.
I got some feelings.
You've got a notebook of ideas that they're going to go, thank you.
I got 1 or 2. But, no, that's the joy about working with writers, is that, like, when we finished series 1, I was like, I don't know how we can come back from this. Like, what on earth are they going to do? And then, lo and behold, you get episode 1, and you're like, that's what we're going to do. So.
Were you nervous about that, though? Because series 1 was such a complete package. I think even as a viewer, it was like, oh, I hope they come back, but I'm satisfied. That was fantastic.
Yeah. It's always nerve-wracking, especially now, because the great thing about season 1, everything was surprise. No one was expecting anything, and now everyone is expecting everything. So, when you're filming, you can switch that off and, focus on the work, but now that it's coming out, it's like, okay, you start getting a little bit anxious. You just want people to enjoy it as much as they did. But, these women, these characters, all of the characters are in a different place. There's so much that happened within series 1 that they're all kind of changed in different ways. And, it was also the wonderful thing about having Emerald. Like, of course, when you're getting a new writer, there is part of you that panics, especially because Phoebe is so incredible. But Emerald gets that tone and the humor and the darkness, and
that's right. You guys do have a new showrunner.
Yeah, with Emerald Fennell. Yeah. But she's her own person. She's a incredible writer in her own right, and she brings a different energy with her. So it's something that we've all embraced.
I think the show does a really great job of, in the first 2 episodes that I've seen, resetting what the expectations are going to be. Not expectations of good or bad, but of where this story is going to go and how it's going to get there. Like, whereas in the first episode of the first series, you're murdering right away. Yeah. And in this, it's a little bit different in terms of the setup.
Yeah, well, I guess people already know now what she's capable of. And like I said, she is in a very, like, she's trying to stay alive. Like, there's no question about it. So that is on her top of the priority list. Let's just say that. So yeah, it is different. But I think, you know, when you're on series 1, you're very much setting up everything. Whereas I guess in series 2, that people are familiar, so you don't really have a need to do that.
You can kind of just play with them a little bit more.
Yeah.
There is stop me if this is a spoiler. There is a guest star in one of the first episodes. Can we talk about who the guest star is?
Yeah, I
Not
think we
the
can.
story,
It's been
but-
released that he's
it's been
in
released.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
Julian Barrett.
Julian, yes, of Mighty Bush and so many wonderful shows.
He's the greatest guy ever.
Nathan Barley's my favorite show that he was a part of.
I hadn't seen Mighty Bush, but the whole crew were like going crazy. And I was like, oh, I really need to
Did you go watch any of
to
it?
see this. I watched a bit of it, yeah.
Did you watch the first episode where he fights the kangaroo in the boxing ring?
No, I feel like they were wrapped in tinfoil.
Yeah.
Is that not the kangaroo though?
That's not the kangaroo, but that is like, that's Mighty Bush.
Absurd. But yeah, so I spent a lot of time with him for the second episode in particular. And
He's he's an amazing writer in his own right,
Yeah.
as well as a hilarious actor. But you hadn't really seen him in anything?
no, like I met him for rehearsals, and it was like the best week of filming, especially Damon Thomas, who directed the last 2 episodes of series 1. He was directing, and there was Damon really encourages you to take risks and be silly, and then everyone just starts getting silly and just trying out things, and then that's when we have fun. And I feel like when we have fun, it shows so much.
That's exactly what you want to do with someone like Julian Barrett.
Yeah, who's hilarious. So there was
Yeah.
just so many, at one point I remember all the crew were just in fits of giggles, and it was such a lovely atmosphere. You know, that's when I realized I'm so lucky to do.
Well, there's
what I
that great
do.
line where you're literally just asking him for medication, and he goes, "Could I have 5 minutes of peace?"
It's like the best
This
line.
mama's boy that plays with dolls
Yeah.
who can't handle any kind of relationship whatsoever.
But also I don't want to give away too much, but he's very unassuming, which I think is just so perfect for how the story goes. And we also have this is the amazing thing is like we now have this luxury of incredible actors. Like there's more throughout the series who want to come in and want to meet an awful death. And I'm like, I have the honor of giving them that.
Well, that's one of the most fun things about this series is that your character provides just a series of short films within the whole show. Yes, there's this overarching story, but every episode there's a new person
Yeah.
that you have to kill or multiple people. And within the show has always been incredible. And I think back always to the sort of Italian estate in series 1 where do you poison that man, if I remember? Or you stab him in the eyes, maybe?
Stabbed him in the eye, yeah,
Stabbed
with
him in the
poison.
eye. With poison.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You got it.
Really got to get it done there, right?
Yeah. It was a hairpin. Sorry.
It's such a wonderful short film within the larger whole series, and the show sort of provides that for you with all these guest stars and people that Villanelle has to murder.
Yeah, well, everyone's like, do you make a lot of friends on set? And I'm like, no, they're all dead. Like, everyone's in for a couple of days and then goes. So we don't have enough time to do that. But it's true. It definitely feels like when you're with Villanelle, you're kind of transported. The show's kind of split into 2. But, like, within series 2, they definitely merge a little bit more.
A little sooner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how soon, but they definitely have to merge.
They merged in series 1 as well, but it was near the end where they started kind of coming
Yeah.
together. Once they had come together and you were doing all this work with Sandra, was it kind of hard going back to series 2 and sort of splitting up again?
Well, not really, because so much time had passed.
Yeah.
What did feel bizarre, though, was that like we had to pick up right from where we left off. I think it's like 30 seconds later. And she's so ill physically. Like, I just remember, like, there was like 2 weeks of me just like hyperventilating and heavy breathing. And I was like, I'm so done with this, with this illness. So like to have to pick up from that energy was quite, not tough, but it was just, that was kind of challenging in itself. But the women they have to separate in that moment because one Villanelle needs to get away, and so does Eve, you know. But yeah, Villanelle's scarpered.
When did you decide to be an actress?
When?
Yeah.
Feels like ages ago. I don't know.
When you were a kid, or when
through my teens, I was lucky enough to like be doing the odd job here and there. But I think when I was like 13, yeah, maybe around 13, that was when someone said to me, you know, you can do this for a living, and I was like, what? And then they said, yeah, you can get an agent, and you can get headshots, and I was like, okay. And my mum and dad were like, if you want to do it, like we'll support you 100%. But like, because my dad used to be really good at football, and he's very honest in saying that when he got to his teens, he like then got interested in going out and drinking and being with his friends, and he's just said, you know, if you're gonna do it, don't do it half-heartedly. So that's what I'm trying to do.
And when you started acting, I mean, were there parts that you feel like helped build you up to this kind of role?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like with every job you learn something new. I did a drama in England called 13, which was like my first lead role. That was for the BBC. And that was where I kind of realized the responsibility that you have leading a show, not just to do a good job, but also like your morale and how you treat the crew and your punctuality. And so that really shaped me in that kind of way. But I think each job you learn something new.
What have you learned from Killing Eve?
What I've learned from Killing Eve is to take risks. Like, find freedom in things, like try and be fearless as much as you can. I think we worry so much about, like, what people think or, you know, especially when you're in like, for me, crew shows, so before you do a scene, you'll rehearse the scene with the director and then you'll do a crew show and all the crew come up and line up and they're like, waiting for you to show them what you're going to do, and you're like, oh, God. So that's always, like, the most nerve-wracking.
Kind of your first audience, and it's not their job to even really be an audience for you. It's their job to sort of technically figure out how they're going to do everything around you, but it's still the first people that you're performing for.
Yeah, and I also, like, I really value the crew's, like, what they think. I really care what the crew thinks because I think, you know, when you're a part of a show like Killing Eve, you could just sense that the whole crew was so proud and excited by what they were making, and that's what you want on every set, you know.
Yeah, what do you think it was? Do you think they could see in the writing and the performances that what they were making, and also I guess, you know, if you're on the technical side, the directing, even just in the pilot, you can see right away that there's something special to it.
I mean, even the cinematography, the lighting, the directing, everything would just seem to be coming together so nicely. I think the writing is phenomenal. You know, I mean, I speak about Phoebe so much, but I really love her.
Amazing. She's incredible. She's a genius.
Yeah, she's like, there's only one Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and there only ever will be. She's the best. Anyway, so
performing live down the street right now in New York City. It's really great. It's really fantastic.
So yeah, we all just sense that, and then the editing. You know, editing is a huge part of it, and the music. Like, I had no idea what the music was going to be, and you know, even the titles when you're in a different location. I think you can't have.
You must have had such an experience watching it for the first time, just thinking like, oh, I'm in something really cool.
Yeah.
This is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's like the first, like, actually my Mad Fat Diary was pretty cool, I feel like, in my opinion. That was my cool little show when I was younger. But yeah, this was like, well, just to be a part of something that everyone is talking about. I've never had this kind of reaction before to a show.
Is it hard to take risks as Villanelle, though, in performance? Because, I mean, even if the writing kind of calls for it, the main component of Villanelle is that she's a steely-eyed killer and stoic. So how do you find that place in those moments where you can take big, silly, goofy risks with her?
Because I remember seeing that stretchy fabric and I was like, no way. And they were like, mm-hmm.
Did you feel when you went into the room, outside of the work that you were doing, did it feel like there was some sort of innate, strange chemistry between the two of you?